Is it the greatest thriller ever? No, but sure as hell ain't bad either. Let's do it. Alright everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1977 to see a little flick that some of you will remember and some of you may not. But either way, it shouldn't be ignored. We're going all the way back to 1977 to look at Capricorn One. We're going to have fun with this one, folks. Anyway, before we go any further, before we move into this little gem, once again, and as always, to the trailer.
Capricorn Control, we're at T-minus 30 seconds. At the present time, all systems are go, all lights are green.
They're looking for a reason to cancel the program. We can't afford another screw-up.
All the space pads and final checks have been completed. The access arms are swinging in the final retract position.
We found out 2 months ago it won't work. You guys would all be dead in 3 weeks.
T-minus 10 seconds. 9, 8, we have ignition. 6, 5, we have outboard engines. 3, we have inboard engines. 1, 0, we have a launch commit. We have a liftoff in 35 minutes after the hour.
What if man's greatest technological achievement
I take this step in the journey of peace for all mankind.
was a fraud?
You sound so close. It's hard to believe you really are that far away in space.
It's hard for me to believe it, too.
What if something went wrong?
Those signals couldn't have come from 300 miles.
Which signals?
The television transmissions.
I'm on a story, and I'm helping you. This can't be happening.
What if someone found out?
Something's wrong, something big. They know I'm onto it, and they try to kill me.
The most important event in recent history.
You have crossed the last great frontier.
What if it never really happened? This is Capricorn One.
Capricorn One, this is Houston. Capricorn One, we show red on the computer.
Something went wrong during re-entry. The spacecraft disintegrated within 12 seconds after the loss of the heat shield. We are dead. So many people have given so much. I say we get the hell out of here. Anybody disagree? All we've got to do is get to any city, any place there are people. They died striving for a goal. Get more personnel. They can't go too far on foot. And where do you want to go?
I'm not sure. I'm looking for someone who's lost.
Your money.
The whole world thinks they're dead, and the only way the truth can come out is if they live long enough to tell it. Capricorn One. How do we know this hasn't already happened? How do we know it won't happen again?
Okay, this motion picture was directed by Peter Hyams. Now, Hyams, I don't give a shit. I've reviewed his stuff before, and I still can't say his name right. Who cares? Anyway, he's done a bunch of stuff we all know, we all love, and we all will remember. We're talking about, he's done things like End of Days, 2010, Outland, and Time Cop, and The Relic, and Hanover Street, and The Presidio, and Running Scared, and a little movie that didn't really click with people, but it was actually not a bad flick called A Sound of Thunder. So if you ever get a shot, check that thing out. It's actually not bad. Didn't really have the reputation that a lot of his other movies had, but it was still good. Okay, playing Robert. Elliot Gould. Now, if you're of my age, you've seen Elliot Gould in a million things. Elliot Gould always kind of plays Elliot Gould. Let's face reality, folks. But he was in a lot of classic shit. We're talking he was in MASH, and he was in The Long Goodbye, in A Bridge Too Far, in The Player, in Nashville, in Escape to Athena, and he was in Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice, and he was on TV and shit like Friends and ER. So he's been around. You've seen him. You know him. You remember him? At least you should, I guess. Hey, why not? Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, playing Charles Brubaker. How many times has he already been on my channel? I think this is his 4th trick. I really do. I really do. James Brolin. Let's face it, folks. Here we go. He was in The Car, which I reviewed. He was in the Amityville Horror, which I reviewed. He was in Night of the Juggler, and Westworld, and Traffic, and Skyjacked, and he was on TV in Marcus Welby and Hotel. So he has popped up multiple times in my reviews, and he probably will again in the future. All right, Plan K. Brenda Vaccaro. First time I think her name has come up in the channel. I kid you not. But she was in a bunch of stuff. We're talking about she was in Midnight Cowboy and Going Home and Airport 77. Who can forget that shit? And Zorro the Gay Blade. And Supergirl, as trashy and shitty as that was. And she was on a bunch of TV stuff like The Fugitive. And she was on McCloud. But she was also in another motion picture that gets way overlooked, and it was called The House by the Lake, which is a really good little thriller that just, I mean, it's completely forgotten about by people in the history of time. I don't know why, but it is. Shouldn't be. Let's keep going. Okay, also we've got OJ starring as... let's just skip this one. Hey, Dr. Kelloway, played by Hal Holbrook. Let's go. He was in a bunch of awesome shit, man. We're talking about back in the day. He was in All the President's Men, and Magnum Force, and Creepshow, and Midway, and The Star Chamber, and The Fog, and Wall Street, and The Florentine, and The Firm. Fucking hell, Holbrook is like an American institution, for God's sakes. I mean, what more can you say? Okay, playing Peter. Sam Waterston was around back in the day a lot, folks. Really was. Bunch of shit. Anyway, we're talking about he was stuff like Hopscotch and Heaven's Gate and Serial Mom and The Great Gatsby and Journey into Fear and the Killing Fields and September. And he was on a bunch of TV shit too, like, Law and Order and Newsroom and Dr. Kildare. So, hey, man, popped up a lot. Is what it is. Okay, played Albain. Telly Savalas. What? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, really, him. Bunch of shit you're gonna remember. Anyway, he was in stuff like Kelly's Heroes and The Dirty Dozen, and of course Horror Express. And he was in that Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, which was a part 2 to the Poseidon Adventure, which just sucked in every way. And then you have, like, he was on TV in Alice and Love Boat and Bonanza and The Virginian, and of course he was fucking Kojak. Who Loves You, Baby? Playing Judy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Karen Black. Remember her, folks? Oh, very distinctive face. Great character actor. She would... Anyway, before I digress. Anyway, she was in a bunch of cool stuff. She was in stuff like Day of the Locust and Nashville and Burnt Offerings, which you all know I reviewed, and Airport 75, which was better than 77, and The Pix, and Easy Rider, and 5 Easy Pieces, and The Great Gatsby, and Invader from Mars, and Trilogy of Terror, and House of 1,000 Corpses. So, big career, big career, big career. Passed away not too long ago, kind of sad. Anyway, but she is legendary. And by the way, folks, there's a bunch of other actors and actresses in this that just popped up all over the place. I mean, people that were like in everything back in the day. All I'm going to do is give you some hints. I'm going to say, oh, keep an eye out for some people that were in the Lou Grant TV show. Oh, keep an eye out for some Return of the Living Dead cast members. Oh, look out for a little bit of Star Trek 3. Kirk, you'll never sit in the captain's seat again. Yeah, all those people pop up in this motion picture. So I'm just saying, keep your eyes out. Alright everybody, here we go. I'm going to try to give you a story in 90 seconds or less to keep this fast, keep it entertaining, keep it moving, and so we can get to the summation, which is where we all really rather be. Anyway, here we go. You got the Capricorn mission. Their job is to go off and land on Mars itself. How fucking cool is that? And they're sitting there and the timer's counting down. They're sitting on the tarmac. They are ready to blast off into space. And at the last minute, somebody comes and knocks on their capsule and says, boys, get the fuck out. They're like, what? You kidding me? You shitting me? We're about to go to Mars. Doesn't matter, boys. Get the fuck out. They don't know what's going on. They get hauled out of there. They get snuck out the back of the goddamn wherever they are, and they get hauled away. The ship takes off without them. They're confused. They don't know what's going on till they get back to this little secret base. When they get back to the little secret base, where they find out, apparently their life support systems were shit. And their whole mission was going to fail. But they can't fail, because if they fail, it's going to pull all the money out of the space program. NASA's going to fold, and it's all going to go to shit. So what did they decide to do? They decided to stage the Mars landing. They decided to fake the whole goddamn thing. Nobody knows about this. The public doesn't know. The news crews don't know. Fuck, even the president doesn't know. But they're going to do it anyway so they can keep their funding coming and, you know, go for real in the future. That kind of a thing. Well, this doesn't really set very well with the astronauts. They're kind of pissed. They're kind of upset. They're kind of not into it. But an ace is in the hole. Their families' lives are at stake. This is a little bit more dangerous than you might think, people. Just the way it goes. So they go along, they play along, until there comes a moment where they don't play along any longer. And I'm not going to tell you anything more than that, and I'm not going to tell you where it goes from there, because that would really, might just ruin it for you. And I don't want to do that. I want you to experience this for yourself, I want you to see it for yourself, and I want you to have fun for yourself. Okay, everybody, is Capricorn One the perfect thriller? No. I'm not going to say it is. Is it a good thriller? Yeah, it definitely falls in that category. It's a movie with a lot of pluses and a few minuses. On the pluses, you got a great cast. I mean, come on, man. Just look at the fucking people in it. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to say. Everybody carries it. Everybody delivers. Everybody does what they need to do effectively. No, there's no over-the-top schmecka star in it. A movie like this doesn't need it. The story and the cast carry it along. You got Peter Hyams in the director's chair. I mean, come on, man. How many goddamn motion pictures has he directed that we all know and love? So you know it's going to look good. You know how it's going to feel. You know it's going to be paced right. You know it's going to give you what you think he gives you every time. And this one gives you what he gives you every time. Not perfection, but nothing bad. Just, you know, a solid 75% on your grade score. Yes, it's one of those motion pictures that was very stereotypical of later 70s motion pictures, you know, with All the President's Men, or fucking China Syndrome, or all that kind of shit. This fits in there with that, you know, bigger picture is going on, and some reporter and somebody stumbles into it, and they start digging around, and a couple people's eyebrows are raised, and is the truth going to come out? It's that kind of a movie. We've seen those movies before. This one fits right perfectly in with it, and it delivers, well, almost as well as a lot of the other ones, but well enough to keep you entertained. Does the movie commit a few cardinal sins? Yeah, sure. There's some shit that just, where you're like, wow, this movie was really, really cool in that it was just flowing along, and then all I'm going to say is Elliot Gould in his car, and it was one of the worst designed scenes I've ever seen in a motion picture. I mean, it almost ripped you out of the motion picture for that little period of time. You forgive it, you move past it, but you're like, did they just put that shit in this motion picture? Because it looks so ridiculous. It's filmed so bad. Everything is sped up so much. It looks so preposterous. How did that just wind up in this motion picture? I don't understand. I don't know what they were thinking. It is what it is. And for the love of God, they probably really could have done without the Telly Savalas character in the end of this thing. I mean, it was fun, and it added some suspense and a chase, and it was cool, and it was dramatic, you know what I mean? Watching that old biplane take on 2 helicopters, it was fun, it was cool. But at the same time, the Telly Savalas character was a little bit of that character you've seen pop up in motion pictures before, where you're like, oh, the cantankerous old guy who comes in and semi-saves the day, and he's just like so bad attitude, you're like, nobody would even fucking talk to this human being. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't care what wing walker you are. Nobody's gonna hang on to the side of a plane that's pulling that kind of shit. I don't care who you are. You be dead. And there's parts in this motion picture where you say to yourself, they did this later to try to fix the movie. Like, they didn't plan this, and they just like, all right, how do we make a sandwich out of shit? At least that's the feeling I got, especially in the end scene. You know, you see a certain character running, and you're like, they didn't even think enough. They put it in slow motion, and they didn't think enough ahead to film it at a faster frame rate. So every time the character moves, it's like, and you're like, what? Why would what? That's a weird. That's why did they do that? I don't get what they did. Now, with all those little flaws that I pointed out to you about this motion picture, why am I still recommending it? Because overall, the experience of it, if you take out a couple of the little missteps that it had, is still enjoyable, is still entertaining, is still a cool concept, is still a cool plot line, and is still well acted enough, and mostly well directed enough. Again, I think the weird shit took place after the directing of the movie, and they were fucking getting creative in the editing room, that you can overlook any mistakes, still have a good time, still realize this is a forgotten gem that should be up a lot higher and more in people's memories than what it is. If you wanted to have a great little night with your DVD player, I would say you put something like this in, you throw in the Andromeda Strain, and you touch it off with a little bit of the China Syndrome. Boo! Triple header, you had a good night, and it is what it is. All right, everybody, once and again, and as always, take care of yourself, take care of a stranger, look out for somebody, and look out for the ones you love, and believe me, above all else, never, ever, ever take any bullshit from anybody. See you soon.